So this week, I think Monday or Tuesday, I got an ask on Tumblr. I will read it out. Hey Emma, sorry, I know this is a pretty personal thing to ask. I heard you talk about your depression and being on the brink of suicide when you were younger. I'm 15 and currently feeling that way, not knowing what to do. I feel like I can relate to you a lot, which is why I'm asking. Do you think you could do a video on how you battled with depression/suicide? I'm sorry if it's a lot to ask, but I have no one else to go to. Thank you so much for reading this. So I'm going to start off with a lovely photo. This is me in year 7, which is for British schools. You start secondary school when you're 11 years old. So I'm 11 years old in this photo, and I think it's quite obvious that I basically haven't changed at all, have I, physically? I basically still look 11 without any makeup, with my hair in exactly the same style. It's amazing, really, how little I've changed. Except my happiness, which has changed dramatically. At that point, like, sitting for that photo, I still remember sitting for that photo. We were in the first week of secondary school. I was still crapping my pants with terror because everyone was bigger than me, everyone seemed to wear the uniform better than me, everyone had more friends, was obviously having a better time. And I was sitting there refusing to smile properly for the photographer with seething hatred behind my eyes because I hated every second of what I was going through. That's not true. The truth is, I have very few solid, concrete memories of my time in my first secondary school. I was there for 1 year and 1 term. This has 3 sections, this video: what happened to me, how I dealt, and potential advice on how you should deal, anonymous asker. So what happened to me was that when I arrived at secondary school, I was still very much in primary school headspace. I was quite emotionally immature. I still wanted to run around at break times playing tag and, you know, pretending to hit people or not pretending to hit people, and, you know, generally being a scrappy puppy the whole time, which everyone else kind of had obviously moved on over that summer. I was also quite ignorant about a lot of things. I was first child, so I hadn't had any older siblings telling me the ways of the world. I remember one of the girls in one of my lessons asking if I knew what a dildo was, and she was one of the girls who never interacted with me unless it was, you know, to be mean, basically, to tease me, to make fun of how ignorant I was about this sort of thing. And I lied and said of course I knew what it meant, and then of course she asked me, well, what is it then? Everyone laughed because of course I couldn't say anything. How was I meant to know what a dildo was? I was 11 years old! I was also kind of weird. I made what are in hindsight very bad decisions. I'll leave the link to the rat story below. So picking dead animals off the pavement, I wouldn't recommend that if you want to not be teased. My tutor group was a particular focus of pain. Like, I don't know how it works in other schools, but in my school we used to, you know, go into our tutor groups to register, and we'd have the same tutor the whole time we were at that school. So I'd see these people every single day, and they were in a lot of my classes as well. So that didn't really help, being around the same people pretty much near constantly, and only being able to escape them at break and lunchtime, and then I would escape into the library. So if the library was closed, I was fucked. It wasn't all doom and gloom. I did have 4 friends, so I know that I can't have been miserable 24/7, even though it feels like I was, because I did have those 4 friends that I was very proud of. I had 4 friends. I couldn't have been doing that badly. I had 4 friends. That was the excuse I kept giving to myself and to my mum, because she could, you know, my parents could see that I was not having a fun time. So when I eventually cracked, which is a great story that I will save for another video, I eventually cracked and ran home crying to my mum, and she produced a stack of brochures for other schools that she'd been saving. I also, at that point in my life, contemplated a lot of very harmful stuff, like self-harming, like starving myself, cutting myself, that sort of thing. You know, was very much on the agenda, contemplated committing suicide a lot. So that was my experience. But how I dealt with it was I went to an authority figure, my mum, and because going to the authority figures at school hadn't helped. I'd cracked once before and gone to the school nurse and my head of year, and nothing had changed. So I went to my mum instead, and I moved schools, basically. The school I'd gone to before was my local comprehensive, like state school, and I was extremely privileged and lucky to be able to go to a private school nearby, a local private school. That was how I dealt. A completely new environment with completely new people, because that meant that I didn't have all the baggage and shit from you know, what I had been doing and what I had been like, and I was then allowed to grow and move on because people weren't keeping me in that rut by forcing those memories on me constantly. I met other people who were more like me, like Connie, who introduced me to, you know, new music, new ways of dressing, you know, casual rebellion, that sort of thing. It was great. And at that point I started reading more fanfiction and eventually writing it myself, which I think helped hugely with, you know, building my confidence. I think if you're creatively inclined, do that and put it out in the public sphere for people to hopefully compliment you and affirm your worth. That really helped me. It took a long time. I'm not gonna make any bones about that. It took several years. It basically took the whole of my secondary school, like from year 8 onwards to year 10, 11, for me to become completely confident in myself. But after I, you know, left secondary school, went to 6th form, and basically from then onwards I've been really happy and really confident, and it's been great. So, you know, you can get there. It is absolutely possible to go from wanting to kill yourself to loving everything about yourself, you know, to the point of narcissism. That's how much I love myself. I look in the mirror and wink at myself on a regular basis. That should tell you everything you need to know. Potential advice on how you should deal. I'm going to say very clearly at this point I am not a professional, and so I am leaving some helplines in the description below with some information about them, because not a professional. Those people, professionals, trained. They know what they're talking about. They will be able to help you, or at least talk to you, you know? That helps. For me, I would advise change of people, change of environment if possible. So going to an authority figure, parent, teacher, medical professional, whatever you need to do, do it. To get yourself transferred out of the classes with the people who are making your life a hell. If possible, change schools if it's, you know, if you need that sort of dramatic change. And I don't know if I had been in a tutor group with other people, if I would have been able to stay at my first school. Because it might have made all the difference, to be honest. I think the way our tutor groups were sorted in secondary school was based on the language that we chose to study in primary school. So we were given like a form, and do you want to study French, Spanish or German? I wanted to study Spanish, but a lot of my friends were doing French. So in order to stay with them, I chose French. If I had chosen Spanish, things might have been completely different. So yeah, if possible, move to different classes, try and get teachers, authority figures to change things for you, because that is what they are there for. It is their responsibility to make sure that you are happy, at least content. That is like the bare minimum there. You should be content in order to learn. That is the whole point of being in school in the first place. Try not to shrink into yourself, because you have a right to be able to grow and to take up space and be happy. And if anyone tries to tell you that you don't, or if anyone, like in authority, tries to brush over the issue, make it seem like it's not that big of a deal, it'll be fine, everyone will grow out of it, take it to the next person in charge. Take it to as many authority figures as you need to make sure that they know this is an issue for you. Also, affirm yourself. I know this sounds self-helpy and kind of silly, but stuff like getting comfortable with your own body, like just being with yourself naked. I know it sounds weird, but it does help. You know, looking at yourself in the mirror and telling yourself, I am strong, I am beautiful, I am badass, I am tough. I can walk down a hall and not give a fuck if people are looking at me. Fuck them. Who gives a shit? Not you. Teaching yourself not to give a shit takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of patience. But if I got there, so can you. It's hard, but it is possible. I think the fact that I'm making this video in my pajamas with no makeup and, you know, pretty bad hair really, you know, proves the fact that I'm just beyond caring a lot of the time. So, anonymous person, I really hope that this helped. Let's end this video with my face. Look at how angry and upset I was then. Look how happy I am now. I think that's okay.